I asked the question twice. The first question is, how long do you want to live? And I would say a third of the people say 80, another third say 100, and then there's the other third that would say 150 and beyond. But then I asked the question again after I say, but what if you could stay healthy till the end? And then just about everybody's hands go up. So it's clearly a misconception of what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that we are preventing getting old, preventing diseases, preventing cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's. Who would not want that? And when we extend lifespan, it's not keeping people in nursing homes for longer. Who would want that? It's allowing people to be 85 and 90, even 100, to play tennis and hang out with their families and start a new career. The best example I can give you is my father, whose stars in the book. He retired at 67 and was not looking forward to being 80. He was thinking he'd be in a wheelchair like most 80-year-old men, if not in the ground. He's now 82. He's fitter than me, stronger than me, more excited about life than me. Seriously, he's got a great social life. And he has no diseases, no aches or pains, mentally extremely sharp, and has started a new career. This is what 82 should look like. And if people change their lifestyles the way that I describe in the book, they have a great chance of reaching that point and beyond. And then the last point I want to make is anyone who says they want to die at 80 is misguided, in my view. Because if at 80 you've got friends, you've got family, you're doing something with purpose, whether it's community work or a job, no one says, I want to die. No one wants to die if they've got a healthy life with family. And you know, if there's someone out there who says I'm happy and healthy, but kill me now, I'm yet to meet them. Yeah, well, the first level is prevention. So skipping meals, eating healthy, which I would say is roughly a Mediterranean diet, and keeping your body in good shape. So exercise, run for 10 minutes every few days at a minimum, lose your breath, at least go for a walk, and build up muscle strength in your main muscles. That'll help hormones as well as the ability to survive a fall, which in the US happens every 19 seconds and is worse than cancer for longevity. So that's the top level. That's easy, in my view, and obvious, even though most people don't do it. Your food should look more like a rabbit's dinner than a lion's meal, put it that way. Vegetarianism is great. I can't do that. I like meat, but when I eat meat, it's small portions, and it's usually fish or shellfish, sometimes chicken, and very rarely red meat, and not a lot of it. There are carnivores who are promoting a carnivorous diet, mostly meat, keto. Now, I'm a scientist. I just go by the data. I don't care. In fact, I'd love it if meat was healthy, but according to the science, it's not. There's no evidence that people who eat a lot of meat around the world are the ones that live a long time. It's the smaller, thinner, typically women who eat plant-based diets, perhaps with a bit of red wine, olive oil, that live the longest. That's undeniable. I mean, just go into a nursing home and have a look. It's not a secret. So that, to me, says that we want to eat less, eat fresh, eat vegetables, less meat. And but also that when you have less sugar in your body, AMPK and sirtuins will be activated as well. So I'm very careful, not very, but I try not to eat excess sugar and just unprocessed carbs, which are everywhere, including in sauces and dressings. So you have to be careful. I've even gone to the point as a scientist to wear a continuous glucose monitor to see what food does to me. And we don't want those spikes in sugar because they will be bad and shut down our defenses.
What about?
Now, there are two ways, well, let's say three ways to activate sirtuins. One is the usual exercise and hunger will turn on those genes. But if you want to take a supplement, you can do it by taking resveratrol, which is a plant molecule that comes mostly from red wine, but you need it as a supplement. You don't want to be drinking 300 glasses of red wine a day. I don't recommend that. But the other thing is olive oil was discovered to also activate sirtuin enzymes by Doug Marcinek, who is a collaborator of mine. And it's really interesting, right, that the components of red wine and olive oil are activating this longevity enzyme directly, just binding to it and making it work better. I find that really, really satisfying as a scientist. So I'm eating, I guess you'd say eating, not drinking, more olive oil. In the morning, I used to have yogurt. Now I often have a few teaspoons of olive oil. The reason that I have olive oil or yogurt is that resveratrol and some other plant polyphenols that we can talk about are highly insoluble. Once you pull them out of the plant and process them, they're the equivalent of trying to eat brick dust. And that's a mistake a lot of people make. They think they can just have a glass of water and take resveratrol. It won't get absorbed. So I mix those together, dissolve them, and then have that. And I know from clinical trials that I did in the 2000s that works. Other polyphenols, quercetin, there's eaten. We discovered all of these extended lifespan back in the 2000s. We first showed it in yeast and then worms. It's been forgotten by most people, but that's where it first came from. Now, why would these plant molecules make us healthier? Well, I have a theory called Xenohermesis, which is xeno means from other species, and hormesis we've discussed. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think when we eat plants that are making these molecules, particularly when they're stressed out, that don't get enough water or too much sunlight, or bugs are eating them, they make these defense molecules to survive. But we ingest them, and then we get that signal that our food supply might run out. And in that way, we get the benefits as well.
Yeah.
And so the combination of not eating as much, exercising, and taking plant molecules that stimulate adversity, I think that's the winning bet. That's stage 1 and stage 2. And so if you can afford it, it's better to eat food that's been grown outside the typical greenhouse. So that if you look at a lettuce that's grown, I'll single out California, but a lettuce that you buy that's watery and not very green, that's the worst. That's a plant that has been grown in the equivalent of a movie theater with popcorn. You don't want to eat those. You want to go for the ones that have been picked on and full of color. Color molecules come on at the same time as these polyphenols. And have them picked when they're thirsty or had a lot of sunlight. And organic is the easiest way to do that. Another way is to eat locally or even grow your own. Ketogenic diets. Now, the ketogenic diets on their own aren't horrible. Ketosis can be a great state to be in. But here's the problem. We know that there's a trade-off. Your body either wants to grow and repair or hunker down and survive. It switches depending on how much and what you're eating. We know this because if you change something that is alterable in response to the environment, such as growth hormone gives the body the signal to, on this side, grow and repair. And then when you don't have a lot of growth hormone, you don't grow and you hunker down and you actually survive longer. This has been done ad nauseum in worms, in mice, and even in human populations that have mutations in the growth hormone receptor are a little bit shorter, but apparently highly protected against diseases of aging. So this is a paradigm in our field, okay? Growth and reproduction versus hunkering down and living long. Now, if you're eating a lot of meat, taking testosterone, shooting yourself up with growth hormone, you will feel great, right? Your body is in the growth mode, but that's at the expense of long-term survival. Think of it as burning the candle at both ends. Instead, what I prefer is to be in the energetic mode, but also have my body protect itself daily from the ravages of aging. And so I feel just as great as I would if I was eating a lot of meat, because now I'm used to it. But my body is defending itself in a way that eating a lot of meat and taking those hormones would actually suppress. Well, far be it from me to say don't walk and don't move. That's step one. If you don't walk or move, then you're in big trouble when you get older. So that's a minimum. But if we're talking about what's not maximum, but optimal, we don't know that for sure, and it might be everyone's different. But in general, losing your breath is important. High intensity exercise. You don't need a lot. I just mentioned 10 minutes a few times a week. That appears to be sufficient to give you the longer term health benefits. And what's probably going on is, in part, is that we discovered, and we published this in 2018 in the journal Cell, if anyone wants to look it up, that old muscle starts to think that it doesn't have enough oxygen, even though there is enough oxygen, and it shuts itself down and doesn't make a lot of energy, and the blood vessels start to be depleted, and it's just a terrible feed-forward process after that. So by making your body hypoxic and giving it a stress, you can actually do excess oxygen or lack of oxygen, you just want to shock the system, then your body gets to reset. And one of the most popular things to do in the longevity world now is, high pressure bariatric oxygen therapy. And that, I think, is also resetting this problem that our bodies have, where they are what we call pseudo hypoxic. One of the ways that we could reset that without exercise and without high pressure oxygen chambers was using NMN, this molecule that I take. It actually boosted the body's ability to make new blood vessels. It restored the ability to measure oxygen in the muscle. And when we gave it to mice, they could run 50% further without having trained. But the good news is, the important point is that the mice that were young and exercised and got the molecule in their water ran twice as far. So it shouldn't be an excuse to pop a pill and not do anything. But there are some little changes you can make. I lift weights, I have them around my house. I'm at a standing desk, which goes up and down here. These are changes that I make that, I'm standing most of the day now. And this will really help. It builds the muscles in your leg and your butt and your back. That's important now, especially for a male my age, where I'm losing 1% muscle if I don't do something about it every year. But also the hormones. Testosterone comes from having those large muscles signal to the testes. And I've been able to correct and raise my testosterone levels just by keeping those large muscles in shape. Well, yeah, I'm not saying limit protein intake at all. I get plenty of protein, just mostly from plant-based sources where there's not a lot of the branched chain amino acids. Those leucine, isoleucine, valine amino acids are the ones that activate mTOR. And so, focus on plants. You'll have enough protein to build muscle. I have no trouble building muscle. That it's a fallacy that you need to be eating, these protein shakes and meat to get stronger and to build muscle. Now, if you want to professionally build muscle, by all means, go for it. But for most of us who just want to feel good, look good, live longer, what I'm recommending doesn't affect your ability to do those things and build up muscle one bit. And it's also a fallacy that older people cannot build up muscle. My father, who's 82, has built up a lot of muscle. He goes to the gym twice a week. He runs, he hikes, and he literally is stronger than me. And he says he hasn't felt this good since he was in his 30s. Though he does say that he probably felt like crap when he was 30. I'm not going to say my father and I are a clinical trial. In fact, we were just doing this mainly because we're scientists. We can read the literature, we're researching it. But it's a fun experiment, right? We've now been doing this long enough that something weird is going on. My dad feels like and acts like he's 30, and I don't act, or hopefully you can judge, look like I'm 52. He's 82. So that's pretty interesting. We'll see over the next 10, 20 years what happens. But he's not a special person when it comes to life. He's an average guy. He didn't like exercise. He was not looking forward to the future. He's not obsessed with his health at all. And look at what happened. He's living a life that he didn't expect at all. And we're already planning going to Africa after COVID. He's looking at life over the next 30 years. I mean, what 80-year-old does that? If you look at the marathon runners, there's a very clear correlation with longevity. People who bike or run long distances do live longer. In fact, in the case of cycling, if you do, I think it was 80 miles a week, your risk of heart attack goes down 60%, a massive amount. I don't know about marathons, but I think that you'll be fine based on all the evidence.